In a regular meeting, the reports of officers is being made. The report of the president is quite long, and the treasurer, who is the last officer to do the report, must leave to go to another commitment. What should the treasurer do to interrupt the report of the president and to move to give his report out of order? Now, we already saw that there are two motions that are kind of similar. I chose, in this case, to make this one to postpone to a certain time. If I were the treasurer, I would stand up after the president gets his report, before the vice president gets their report, and the secretary gets a report. I would ask, that we postpone the report of the officers, the vice president and the secretary, till after the treasurer's report, because they have to leave. And the body, under normal circumstances, as a courtesy, would go ahead and vote to do that. So the treasurer gives his report out of order. And once his report's been given, then you go back to the regular order again. Is that clear?
Is that postponed for a certain time? Isn't there another motion where it has to do with the orders? Maybe I'm getting confused. Let me think about that. I'm thinking about something else. I'm talking about the motion to take something out of order. You know what I'm talking about?
Mine's drawing a blank at the moment.
Okay, well, let me think about it.
Postpone to a certain time and lay on the table are similar. I chose to make this one, the situation, postpone a certain time because the time that you wanted to postpone until was till after the treasurer gave his report. Whereas in the previous situation, of laying something on the table, there's no time, no particular time specified. And whatever the next appropriate time or available time is, somebody else can make a motion to bring it from the table. In this case, if I were the treasurer, I'd want it to be postponed to a certain time, that time being until after I finish my report. Okay. To defer action on a pending question to a definite day, meeting, hour, or after a certain event. And the event in this case would be my report being completed, so I can leave. I move we postpone the consideration of this question until after the treasurer's report. It requires a second, it's debatable, it's amendable, requires a majority vote. A few more. At a meeting of an organization which has no rule or bylaw limiting the time or number of speakers addressing a question, a member feels that, while there's still members wishing to speak, the comments are becoming redundant. The member wishes to bring the debate to a close and the vote immediately on the pending question. What motion should they use?
That's my favorite. Call for the previous question.
Yes,
I love it.
the call for the previous question. One of the most misunderstood motions in the whole group. The call for the previous question is asking that debate be stopped immediately and that the pending question be voted on right now. Now here's the problem. What most organizations do is make that a single vote. But there are really two actions involved. When you raise a motion to call for the previous question, you're asking to stop debate. The group must first vote on whether or not they're going to stop debate. If they vote to not stop debate, the debate continues. If they vote to stop debate, then you must immediately vote on the question that was before you, which is the reason you wanted to stop debate in the first place. Many organizations will make that one single vote, and that's incorrect. There are two votes involved. Whether or not you're going to stop debate, and only if you decide to stop debate, do you then vote on the pending question. Now, it requires a second, it's non-debatable, it's non-amendable, it requires 2/3 vote to end debate. Why? Because you're violating the right of those members who still want to speak to have a chance to speak. So it requires more than a simple majority, has a higher standard. In parliamentary procedure, almost all the motions that move to restrict a member's right to participate or to change the basic rules requires a 2/3 vote. Because more than just a simple majority must agree that that procedure can be used. In this case, you want to stop debate right now. There are 3 more people who want to speak. The body might decide, along with you, that yes, it's getting redundant. If there are 2/3 of them who agree with you, then the debate can be stopped. But it takes more than just a simple majority.
So if you don't get the 2/3 vote, they just keep on debating?
The debate continues. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In a meeting of an organization which has a rule or bylaw provision which governs the time or number of speakers allowed for consideration of a question, a member wishes either to limit, means shorten, or extend the time prescribed by the rule. What motion should the member use?
Limit or extend debate?
Yes, to limit or extend debate. To assign a specific length of time for debate on a pending question, or to allow for additional time beyond that which is normally assigned. It must be seconded, it's non-debatable, it may be amended, and once again, it requires a 2/3 vote because you're deviating from the rule you had in your bylaw. Remember I said this was the case, let me go back. This was the case where the organization had a rule or bylaw provision that governed the number of speakers allowed. Some organizations will say on any question, we can only have 10 speakers. Or the time allowed for consideration of the question. Some organizations will say, well, I'm going to discuss the question in 15 minutes. And after that, we're going to vote. So if you want to shorten it to 10 minutes or extend it to 20 minutes, you're now going against what you had written in your bylaws. That's an unusual situation. And so that requires also a 2/3 vote because you're changing a basic rule that may infringe upon a member's right.
But if you do not have that requirement in the bylaws, you don't have to have 2/3 votes, right?
No, ma'am. But once again, most organizations try to have some kind of guidelines in their bylaws or rules of procedure. Otherwise, things go on forever, and you have no way of controlling the length of your meeting.
Is it,
Well, for instance, our church does not have that restriction in our bylaws.
Okay?
And if we're having a meeting and people just want to keep talking and keep talking, you could then call for this motion to limit or extend regardless of whether they have it in the bylaws?
In this case, I would not use to limit or extend debate because you have no stated provision as to what the limit is. But there is a motion we went through a moment ago that could be used. Yes, you can call for the previous question.
Okay.
Yeah, you can call for the previous question.
but could she not also, actually, when the meeting's called to order, to move that on any particular question, we limit debate to 2 minutes?
If that was decided in the beginning of the meeting, then you do have a rule now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. The rule, I probably should not have said, the rule doesn't have to be in the bylaws. Normally that's where they are.